I laughed when she rejected me. Not because it didn't hurt, but because in that moment, something inside me broke so cleanly that I knew I would never beg for love again. People around us thought I was joking. They thought my laugh meant I didn't care. But what they didn't see was my hands shaking in my pockets, or the way my chest felt hollow, like someone had reached inside and pulled something out without asking. Her name was Elena. She stood there in the middle of that expensive cafe, sunlight hitting her perfect hair, designer bag resting casually on her shoulder, like the world had always made room for her. And me, I was just the guy who didn't belong there. I still remember how confidently she looked at me before saying the words that would follow me for years. "I'm sorry," she said, lowering her voice as if kindness could soften rejection. "I just don't see you that way." I smiled. Then I laughed. And that was the moment everything changed. I grew up in a small, cracked apartment where silence meant unpaid bills and noise meant arguments. My father worked double shifts, my mother pretended exhaustion was normal, and I learned early that dreams were a luxury we couldn't afford. While other kids talked about vacations and future plans, I talked about survival. Elena lived in another world. Her life was glass buildings, family dinners at restaurants where menus didn't show prices, and conversations about opportunities instead of worries. We met in college. She sat 2 rows ahead of me in class, always neat, always composed. I noticed her laugh before anything else. It wasn't loud. It wasn't fake. It was effortless. Somehow, we became friends. I helped her with assignments. She helped me forget my reality for a while. We talked late into the night sometimes. About dreams. About fears. About everything. And somewhere along the way, I made the mistake every poor man makes. I fell in love. I never planned to tell her. I knew the difference between us was more than money. It was upbringing, confidence, safety. But feelings don't ask permission. So one afternoon, after weeks of convincing myself not to, I asked her to meet me. That cafe wasn't cheap. I saved for weeks just to sit there for 30 minutes. She arrived looking like she always did, like life had been kind to her. I told her how I felt. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't beg. I just told the truth. And then she rejected me. Not cruelly. Not angrily. Just, honestly. "I need someone who matches my lifestyle," she said. "I don't want to struggle. I don't want to worry." She looked at me then, really looked, like she was seeing my worn jacket, my tired eyes, my uncertainty. "I hope you understand." That's when I laughed. I stood up before she could say anything else. "I do understand," I said. And for the first time in my life, I meant it. I walked out of that cafe with my head high and my heart in pieces. That night, I didn't cry. I stared at the ceiling of my room, listening to the city outside, and made a decision. If love was something you had to qualify for, then I would qualify. The next few years were brutal. I worked jobs that broke my body and nights that broke my sleep. I failed. I restarted. I failed again. While Elena's life moved forward effortlessly, mine crawled through mud. Sometimes I saw her on social media, traveling, smiling, winning at life. And every time, I remembered her words. "I don't want to struggle." So I struggled alone. I stopped believing in luck. I stopped believing in fairness. I believed in work. I learned skills. I stayed quiet. I disappeared from everyone's radar. Pain became fuel. Rejection became discipline. And slowly, things changed. 5 years later, I walked into a building I used to walk past with envy. Only this time, I wasn't looking in. I belonged there. The suit I wore wasn't borrowed. The confidence I carried wasn't fake. And the name on the office door, mine. That same evening, my phone buzzed. A message from a name I hadn't seen in years. "Elena. Hey, it's been a long time. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I smiled. I didn't reply to Elena's message that night. Not because I was angry. Not because I wanted revenge. But because some messages arrived too late. And your heart already knows the answer. Still, curiosity has a way of whispering louder than pride. So the next day, I replied. Sure, we can talk. We agreed to meet in the same city, different place, different people, different lives. When I walked into the restaurant, I felt something strange. Not nerves. Not excitement. Distance. The kind you feel when you look at a place that once mattered, and realize it doesn't anymore. Then I saw her. Elena was sitting near the window, dressed elegantly as always. But something was different. Her smile wasn't effortless anymore. Her confidence felt rehearsed. When she looked up and saw me, her eyes widened. For a second, she forgot to hide it. Surprise, shock, and something else. Regret. You look different, she said as I sat down. I smiled politely. So do you. The conversation started awkwardly. Small talk. Safe words. Memories that felt like they belonged to strangers. She kept glancing at my watch. At my suit. At the calm way I spoke. Finally, she said it. I heard about you. I raised an eyebrow. Heard what exactly? She hesitated. Your company. Your work. People talk. People always do, once you matter. I didn't know you were capable of all this, she added softly. I nodded. Neither did you. The silence that followed was loud. She took a deep breath. I've thought about that day a lot, she said. The cafe. What I said. I didn't interrupt her. I was young. I was scared. I made choices based on comfort, not character. Her eyes searched my face, hoping to find something, forgiveness, maybe. I'm sorry, she whispered. I believed her. But believing someone doesn't mean going back. She told me about her life. The relationships that looked perfect but felt empty. The man she almost married, wealthy, well-connected, emotionally absent. I realized I was always choosing safety over love, she said. And somehow, I still felt unsafe. I listened, not as the boy who once loved her, but as a man who had learned to let go. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. Did you ever hate me? I shook my head. No. Then what did you feel? I thought for a moment. Grateful. Her expression cracked. Grateful. If you hadn't rejected me, I said calmly. I would have stayed small, just to stay with you. Her eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. I didn't know you felt that way. I did, I said. And then I didn't. That was the truth. Over the next few weeks, Elena kept finding reasons to be around me. Coffee invitations, business events, casual messages that weren't casual at all. She laughed harder at my jokes now. Listened closer. Touched my arm a second longer than necessary. The roles had reversed, and she felt it. One night, after a long event, she finally said it. I made a mistake. I looked at her. No, I replied gently. You made a choice. There's a difference, she insisted. A mistake can be fixed. I exhaled slowly. Some choices change who you become, I said. And some doors don't reopen, they just teach you why they closed. She cried that night. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Quiet tears, the most honest kind. I see you now, she said. The man you became. The strength. The calm. She paused. And I want you back. The words hung in the air like a confession and a plea wrapped together. For a moment, the old version of me stirred. The boy who sat in that cafe. The boy who laughed to hide his pain. But I wasn't him anymore. I'm not the same person you rejected, I said. And you're not the same person I loved. She shook her head. I can be. I've changed. I smiled sadly. So have I. That night, I walked away again. But this time, I didn't feel hollow. I felt complete. A few days later, I received a letter. Not a text. Not a call. A handwritten letter. Elena always loved dramatic gestures. I see it now, she wrote. I loved you when you were becoming something. But I only wanted you once you had become everything. My hands tightened around the paper. I thought love was about choosing the best life, she continued. But I learned too late. Love is about choosing someone before the world agrees with you. At the end, one final line. If there is still a place for me in your heart, tell me. I folded the letter carefully. And placed it in a drawer. Because some lessons are meant to hurt. And some regrets are meant to be permanent. The last time I saw Elena, it was raining. Not the dramatic kind you see in movies. Just a quiet, steady rain that soaked everything slowly. Like regret. She asked to meet one final time. One last conversation, she said. I promise. I almost said no. Not because I was afraid of her. But because I knew what closure really means. It's not peace. It's acceptance. And acceptance hurts. We met on a bridge overlooking the city. Cars passed beneath us, headlights blurring into long streaks of light. The city was alive, busy, unbothered, just like life had been, when I needed it the most. Elena stood there holding an umbrella, her hair slightly damp, makeup barely hiding exhaustion. She looked tired, not physically, emotionally. I'm glad you came, she said. I didn't come for you, I replied honestly. I came for the truth. She nodded. That's fair. For a while, neither of us spoke. Rain has a strange way of forcing honesty. There's nowhere to hide. I ruined something beautiful, she said quietly. And I didn't realize it until it was gone. I stayed silent. You loved me when I had nothing to offer, she continued. And I only wanted you when you had everything. Her voice cracked. I hate myself for that. I looked at her then. Really looked. And for the first time, I felt no anger. Only clarity. You didn't ruin it, I said. You revealed it. She frowned. I loved you, she whispered. I nodded. I know. Do you still? She asked, barely audible. That question once would have destroyed me. Now, it felt like a memory asking to be relived. I love who you were to me, I said carefully. But not who you are now. Her breath caught. Why? She asked. I've changed. So have I replied. And I changed because I had to love myself. When you didn't. She dropped the umbrella. Rain poured over her shoulders, soaking her dress, her hair, her face. She didn't move. She didn't care. I see it now, she cried. I see how small I was. How shallow. Her hands trembled. I chose comfort over courage, she sobbed. And now I don't have either. Tears streamed freely down her face. Not the controlled kind. The ugly, honest kind. The kind that comes when there's nothing left to protect. I don't want your success, she said between sobs. I don't want your lifestyle. She stepped closer. I just want you. The rain soaked us both now. And for a second, just a second, I imagined a different ending. One where I reached out. One where I forgave. One where love won. But love doesn't always win. Sometimes, self-respect does. I waited years to hear that, I said softly. But you're saying it to the wrong version of me. She shook her head violently. No, please, don't say that. You didn't want the boy who dreamed with you, I continued. You want the man the world approved of. That's not true, she cried. I met her eyes. Then why didn't you believe in me? When believing cost you nothing. That was it. That was the question. And she had no answer. Elena collapsed to her knees on the wet ground. Cars passed. People walked by. No one noticed. I lost the only person who loved me without conditions, she whispered. And I trained myself to only love what benefits me. Her shoulders shook. I don't deserve you. Those words were heavier than, I love you, ever was. I helped her stand. Not as a lover. Not as a savior. Just, as a human being. You're not a villain, I said. You're a lesson. She looked at me, eyes red, voice broken. Then what am I supposed to do now? I thought about it. And then I said the line that ended everything. Live with the knowledge, I said, that someone once loved you at your worst. And you rejected them, only to want them at their best. Her lips parted. Tears fell again. Silent this time. I will never forget you, she said. I hope you don't, I replied. I walked away. No dramatic music. No final glance back. Just footsteps fading into rain. Months later, I heard she moved cities. Changed jobs. Changed circles. Some people grow from regret. Others just carry it differently. As for me, I didn't win love. I won peace. Because the truth is, she didn't cry because she lost me. She cried because she finally understood what it means to lose someone who would have stayed when everyone else would have left.